October 27th, and we're here at City, our maintenance building for our regular monthly council meeting. We're gonna stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge of allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Here.
Mr. Pollock?
Here.
Ms. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Key?
Here.
Thank you. To those responsible for our little, make us look like we're official, thank you very much. For our signs. All right, first on the agenda is some, meetings, minutes. Chair will entertain a motion to approve by consent unless there are corrections or additions.
Make a motion to approve the meetings by consent.
Second.
We have a motion second. Is there any opposition to the motion? Let the record reflect that it carries 5-0. All right, moving on. Next, financial report. Do we have anything, Mario?
Mayor, we did receive a notice from the state that we did not perform our audit by June, which we knew we would not perform our audit by June. Debbie has put together a letter for your review and signature to send back to the state. So we have that in the works. This afternoon, we have a meeting with our auditor and Keith and Debbie to help start that transition. Keith's last day will be on November, it's either the 20th or the 30th, which will give us enough time to transition over. He did say, you know, even if we don't get all the information we need, that they'll still definitely take calls and help things out. Debbie has been on board. She's been working through our old books and insurance and funds that have been received, like the Triumph Fund that we were tracking down the other day. So Debbie's busy working, and we're starting to get our arms around things.
All right.
Do we have a time limit, Mario, please, on the financial report or the audit, maybe? You know when?
I have a meeting with the auditors this afternoon. I can probably give you a better report. When I asked Keith that question, I asked him if we were a third or 2/3 or halfway through. He felt that we were about a third of the way through, but we'll have a better idea after this meeting today.
Thank you.
Any other questions from Tyler?
I checked this morning, first thing. I had not received any notices prior to, and today we received $5.8 million to pay for the dredge work that has already been completed. Now we owe 13, and we've been given an advance, if that word is proper, of $5.8 million. So later today, it was, the state required us to give them an outline of what we would be paying with that advance. So we gave the state a Schedule K. I'll get with Mary with the Schedule K, which outlines every invoice that we'll be paying. So later today, that money will have just bounced in our account. This is for Crowder Building. Yes, sir.
Okay. Sandy, you have anything?
Nothing new from the fire department, what we discussed last week, or last meeting, about the key box and the smoke detectors. That letter will be going out in this month's water bill.
Okay. Marty, how about you? You got anything to report?
Everything's been moving pretty good, boss. Golf cart market is in check, and, you know, payoffs have been made, and we're working towards a better end.
No hot spots in town?
No, everything's gonna go good.
You knew what I meant when I said that.
No, sir, I don't know that.
All right, any comments for our police? Oh, as far as questions? All right, building department. Hey, Jan.
Hey, we've got, 8 new residential, permits this month, and we expect the Driftwood to be submitting real soon. They should be getting their DEP permit in the next week or so. I met with their engineer last week, so that one's coming pretty quick.
Awesome.
Mayor, to give you a quick update on the apartments, the St. Joe's building, they're waiting on the FEMA conditional letter of map revision. They expect it anytime soon, and they hope to have that in and then submit their drawings for review, so they're in the near future.
Okay, any questions for building? Yeah, that gets us close to 160 or so,
That's about right.
census stone. That's awesome. All right, Tommy? Oh, excuse me, code? Sorry, Kathy, come on, what you got?
Well, I apologize that, we have a map, but, it's on Skylar's computer, so I just made a list of, these are the citations that went out for the RVs for this month, that are expiring for October. We had some responses back. This copy of the letter. Sorry, along with the citation, if you want to see that.
Thank you.
So, the responses you got back on these,
I have,
are they good, bad, or indifferent?
some have been already removed. One over on Miramar is gone. The one on, Lala, I've got an email from her, I was reading it this morning, and I checked with building, and her builder is sending stuff into the building department, and I think, are you still reviewing it, or is it, okay, still under review. 206 3rd Street, she sent in information, but it really wasn't, they had building check it, they didn't give us all the information that we needed, and they didn't really decided, they want to build it, they're just not ready. So she said they would be removing their RV also. And that's who I've heard from so far.
What about 3? I mean, if you mentioned that with
Wyndham, I haven't heard anything.
number 3 from that property.
I haven't heard anything. So the November ones will probably be going out, in the next week or two, the November expirations.
All right, the question I have is, if it says in the letter, to avoid a penalty of $100 per week, no exceptions, are we set up to do that?
The issue we have is until we appoint a special master, we can initiate the process, but we can't really formally complete the process of
Right.
forcing compliance or formally requiring payment. So that
Well,
special
they
master-
have to have their just due by going to the special master.
Well, and also the way our process is set up is that we have the special master sign off on penalties, even if there's no hearing. Just
Okay.
quick review of the file, glance through it, and sign off on things. That's the way we set it up for better due process and making sure we aren't being too aggressive. So without a special master in place, we could probably try to go ahead and assess those penalties if nobody is disputing them at all. But really, either direction of the process, taking a special master is supposed to have at least a small
the reason I ask that, Kathy, in your documentation prior to the letter, do you have where you have called, talked to, done, you know, whatever it is that, I mean, do you have that in some kind of documented form?
I have the original notice of violations that we sent out, yes.
And any correspondence that you had with them, whether email?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. All right, questions? What about God's house, where we was at? All right, we can pass that up.
It's an item on the agenda.
Oh, it is?
Yes, sir.
It has its own agenda.
Yes, sir.
That's a good thing.
Mr. McLean is here, I believe.
Oh, okay. So that's a,
That's item number
That's what-
six.
okay, I got you now. I didn't associate, okay, I'm with you. All right, Tommy, what you got?
Good morning, council. A couple of things. Number one, we have another storm, probably everybody knows, doesn't look like it's gonna hit us, but, just wanna let everybody know that we will have sand and sandbags again at the we may get a lot of rain out of this, so if anybody needs those, they will be supplied as we always do. Also want to let the council know that, I did contact, North Florida Signs. They won the bid for the signs to go through the city. They're working on those now. We should have those signs probably within a month, and as soon as we get them, we'll put crews out and get all our signs put back up throughout the city. We had a, emergency repair we having to do to the dredge, but just as soon as, Troy and Nick gets that done, we're gonna start dredging on the west side, get that dredge back out. We've got everything lined up to do that. Also, Mr. Bobby, give you updates, Duke Energy is supposed to start any day now, putting those drops on our utility poles. As soon as they get that done, I'll get the maintenance guys in and James to get started putting our brackets up, so we're on track to have all our Christmas ornaments put back up by Thanksgiving, so we can turn them on after Thanksgiving like we normally do. Other than that, I handed out a sheet, kind of give you an idea of things we've done the last couple of weeks. Other than that, Mayor, everything's going good.
Hey, Tommy, came in the other day and, dredge had a lot of leaks in, the hose.
We, Mr. Darrell, what we had, where the snout, and there's a rubber section and a coupling that, connects it to the pump. And what happened, it just, over a period of time, is for that, that transition piece out, flange and piece of pipe, just, the sand coming through there, started leaking on us the other day when, the last time it sanded over. But we were able, Troy and them work real easy with it, because they would get canal work back up. And Troy's rebuilt a new piece to go in there, and that's what they're working on right now. He said they probably have that fixed by late today, maybe tomorrow. We'll have, dredge will be ready in case it sands over again from the storm, if we have any wind, anything from that. But, like I said, once we get past that, we're gonna start dredging on the west side. Once we get that whole bunch back out, we won't have any problem with the canal sanding over.
Right.
Once we maintain that side. So, but that's where we at now with that.
Sure. Thank you, Tommy.
Yes, sir.
Public Works questions from anybody? All right, we also have a sheet while we're here on the, utilities.
Mayor,
Kevin's not here, but is there any,
Kevin ran out. There's something going on that he needed to address.
is there anything on here that, it looks, it's nice to get this, I like it.
Standard.
Standard.
Lots of work going on.
Standard looks like pretty,
The one thing that I did want to mention is, there were 2 notices that went out with the water bill this month. One of those notices is for the fire department on putting the key box. The other is, as everybody knows, we're working on a CDBG DR grant opportunities. Within that, one of the things that we fall short on is low to moderate income. There is a form that we are hopeful that everybody that is a resident of Mexico Beach will fill out and return to the city. We've asked them to mail it back, drop it off, photograph it, text it, however they can get it back to us. If we can show that we have 51% LMI, even if it's in an area, those areas will get additional funding. Again, typically, if you are retired over a certain age, it puts things into a category that qualifies for LMI. Without that data, right now, we're not LMI qualified. So we're very hopeful that the word will spread. It will be received in this month's bill, and we're hopeful to receive enough information back that shows that we've got some percentage. And again, we need everybody, because we need to know the people that aren't LMI to the ratio of LMI to qualify for.
All right, moving on. David, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, to start with Sunset Park, I spoke to DEP last week. They looked at the concept plan we sent them. They deemed it permittable, so basically we are in design. We should have, the Dewberry should have the site design complete by 11/13, and then we've got to submit to the DEP for a CCL permit. We'll do that by 11/17, and they typically have a 30-day review period after that.
Now that we've got the footprint of the building, we'll release the geotech people to do their report on the area where the foundations go.
Citywide streets, we're still working on the typical sections for the different repair areas. We're preparing bid documents. We're hoping to have this ready to send out for bid sometime before December. The citywide sidewalks and parking, that advertisement's out for bid. The opening is November 17th. I just wanted to let you know, we've had several firms that have requested bid packages, so hopefully we'll get some good results. The stormwater inspection and analysis, I'm completing the assessment of the overall damage. I will have a report and map submitted to the city this week.
We don't have them now, I mean, but we got to wait on you to get them to us. I thought we was gonna look at them this week.
Well, I wanted to finish up the rest of the work before I submit it
that's
to you.
fine.
But I'll get them to Mario, and then if you want to organize, I can sit down with you guys and explain. It's a rather lengthy spreadsheet, and I can kind of explain the process that we're at. Holy,
And there'll be a graphic that,
there'll be a map, the map that we reviewed that one time. Plans
so
that-
it'll show highlighted where it's actually happening.
Caved in or bad or something, that's what I like to say.
Yes, sir, it'll be a plan set, and it'll have comments point to the different pipes. Oleander, their change order for the 2 2-inch taps is on today's agenda. Once that gets approved, they can go ahead and perform that work. They believe they'll be substantially complete by the end of November. And the beach landscaping, we get a design team, and Mario had a call last week. We're going to add a 4-inch water line under 98 at 3rd Street for the irrigation. We thought that would offer a better supply of water for the needed irrigation work. It's gonna require a permit, I'm sorry, DOT permit. So Dewberry will go ahead and put that together, make that submittal. What we'll probably do is 10-inch casing underneath 98, so we can run the 4-inch line, and then any empty conduits for the irrigation controllers and stuff as well, if we want to put them on the north side of 98.
Yep. In conversations, if we can put the controller on the north side of the road, it needs power. We won't have to have a power pole on the south side of the road. So there's a power pole right there on the end of 3rd and 98. So maybe we can go up a little off of 98 and put our irrigation controller and power there, and then run everything low voltage from that point forward.
And I spoke with Mr. Hodges, who's doing the design. He anticipates having the plans complete by 11/17.
Are there any comments on Sunset Park drawings and or landscape drawings that have been over in the
pretty good. I know we had to move it back,
The citywide streets, we had a question, they said that we couldn't change some of the stuff the way we wanted to change it.
We're still verifying that.
Okay.
And what we've done, what we're doing within the drawings to safeguard that is, we've got the roads that we hope to do, and then the little piecemeal stuff, we'll price that as an ad alternate, so if FEMA comes back and says, no, you absolutely have to do this, we'll have that as an ad alternate.
So essentially, we're bidding two sets of plans, but more still at one, just depending on how they come back.
Good.
I have a question on the landscaping.
Yes, ma'am.
I have not seen the plans in the conference room, so,
They are available on the website.
okay, I have not seen them. When you landscape, along the beachfront, along 98, is that going right up against the, asphalt, or will there still be parking?
There'll be a pull-off.
Okay.
The drawings are available on the website.
Okay.
What would we expect, that 4 inch? How much would we expect to spend to get water over there?
That is probably about $20,000, between the casing and the piping, valves, and everything else.
Drill through
Yes,
it,
yes.
or,
Yeah.
okay.
We're watering a mile.
I don't
Quarter.
think, I'd like to know how many zones they gonna have for that, but I reckon we'll see it later. That's a 4-inch water line. How long is that? Mile, probably not quite a mile, half a mile? That's a long
Mile and a
water.
quarter. Mile and a quarter is the full length, so that's why they went to third, is so that they could split the distance. And again, we're talking about that, the irrigation designer has to get involved,
Yeah.
it may be a 2-inch line or a 3-inch, again,
Okay.
it's just, we're trying to give you worst case scenario.
$40,000.
Will that come out of the funds that DOT set aside for that?
Yes, there was
Is that
irrigation
already-
line there, so we're hopeful that that's all in there.
Okay, but we're not sure. Should be.
Again, once we get the price, if we have to take out 10% of the trees, we'll take out 10% of the trees. We know we have a fixed budget, we'll work to that fixed budget.
See, they're not gonna be able to afford the sand spurs.
Those will come natural.
Those are free.
Okay.
I hope we don't take any trees.
I think, again, I'm
I
just saying
understand.
worst case scenario.
I just got.
I'll wait, I'll just reserve comment to see. We've never had anything but sea oaks over there. We've never had irrigation over there. For some reason, I see that as a maintenance nightmare on that south side of the road. Maintaining a irrigation system for a mile and a quarter. Is there not another way?
There's always another way, sir.
And the irrigation is really more to get things established.
I know, that's,
The only other source of water is, there's an existing 2-inch line, I guess, right about where toucans used to sit.
yeah.
But we're not sure if that's gonna be sufficient or not for what they need.
Yeah, the problem with toucans is it's on the very western end, and now you've gotta get water a mile and a quarter down the road.
Well, I know when we planted the sea oats, you didn't know when the water does, and those do okay. So I guess depending on ours.
We're doing
Which
trees
plants?
now, though.
Yeah, but palm trees, depending on which palm tree, if you, we're not doing any of the expensive ones, we got really, or those don't really.
We're doing native, it is all native vegetation, so it should be really there for establishing the root system.
Right, exactly. Okay.
All right.
So we could do that with the fire department if we had to, if we didn't have the money, we didn't wanna take trees or something, right? On occasion, we can get enough rain.
We're putting out a bid, they're guaranteeing it. If we're watering, then we're guaranteeing. So again,
So their bid is based on us watering.
no, their bid is them, based on them doing all the work, them maintaining, and they have to have a guarantee for a year. They maintain it and guarantee it for a year. If we do the watering, who's gonna,
I understand,
No.
so then they gotta put the water
that should be a cost that they do if they gotta guarantee it.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully they figured this all out, because I would've done it that way. I wouldn't have given you a bid without telling you you needed sprinkler.
All right, questions for Dewberry?
He's got one, but I got one in the back.
Yes, sir.
About 3 or 4 meetings ago, it was mentioned that the city was considering the fitness trail for Under the Palms Park. I'd like to know what the status of that is.
Under the palms on 7th
Seventh
Street.
Street,
Yes, sir.
there was a FERDAP grant that we just, October 15th, we submitted, so we're just waiting for the results of that.
I would like to be involved in setting up that fitness trail. I've seen so many of them wasted. I hate to see the city put something up and nobody uses it.
Well, that will be, there'll be a public hearing, there'll be a plan, there'll be, if we get the grant, there'll certainly be opportunities for that.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I won't beat this dead horse to death now, but the walkovers,
The beach walker.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I was on 15th Street the other day, and I've been trying to get that pile of debris and old lumber and stuff moved from there, and there's a couple of the rest of the other ones. What we got to do?
We emailed them yesterday, there was an email came through about the debris yesterday, he said he thought his crew was out working on it, so I'll double check and let them know that it's still, I'll drop by after the meeting too and verify myself.
And if you drop by there yourself, when you get on the walkover, would you shake it?
Yes, sir.
Shake the rubber? Would you do it for me? And that way I ain't got to tell you what's wrong with it.
I'm big enough, I'll put it.
But
On
it's.
15th Street, is that the one you said?
No, yeah, from 15th Street. It's
At the end of 15th.
Yes, sir.
It's very shoddy work.
Okay.
And that's not the only one. And I said the last time, and I think Mr. Moffitt said that me and him would get together and go through a punch list. I reckon we done paid them, Mario.
No, sir, they're not paid for.
Well, they don't need to be paid till they fix it. That's my opinion. But I would like to show you some of the things that needs to be done. I walked every one of them. It's very, work just not up to par for me. Thank you. You are gonna handle it.
Yes, sir, I will.
I'm gonna be on top of you on that.
Myself after this meeting, and then I'll get with Josh and Caleb when I get back to the office and let them know.
That's fair enough.
And if you don't, he's coming back for you.
Oh, I know.
This is the last time I beg him somebody to fix and walk. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions? I don't see it on here, I don't know that it's a Dewberry project, so there's no Atkins people here, is there? No. Or I'll ask you then, where are we with the dredging? Thank you, David.
This is the RFQ that was sent, RFI that was responded to on Friday, on the additional dredging.
Yeah.
So
Additional dredging.
that was a response on just this past Friday.
Okay,
And
now
all-
this
all the
RFI
blues-
is coming from who, Atkins? Or
No,
from
sir.
ACC?
Well, the request for information is coming from Virginia, from FEMA, and everything that you see in blue is Atkins/ACC providing a response.
Well, that's a lot to read, but.
And did we have a start date or something on it? Is that too much to ask?
Yes, sir. It is too much to ask at this point.
I can understand.
We're kicking off the process. We just now are getting money on the portions that we've already built, so we're hopeful to get money before we can kick off a contract.
And we're gonna sort of work with the people that's got the boats in there to try to, I know that's down there, we'll just wait.
The future dredging will be the balance of the canal, so it'll go from seawall to seawall.
Okay.
The people that prepared this, meaning Dina, were these questions, was this fairly elementary? Without me stopping, I mean.
There's not, every bit of it is very complex. And again, they're looking at balances and they're looking at what was cleared before, what was cleared after they're asking questions about the front of the canal and when we dredged it versus them dredging it. They've asked for all of our reports from
Nothing that we
Palomar.
were told in, don't we meet tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
What time? 1 o'clock?
I think it's 1 o'clock.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir. 1 o'clock.
To follow up on Jerry's question on the marina project, what is the contractor, have y'all met?
The contractor there is, he should have received his notice.
He did, and he's put in their orders for the payment performance bonds right now. He's trying to get all his paperwork in order.
Okay, and we're also pulling a CCCL permit for
Yes.
the marina piece, which doesn't keep you from starting, it's just the piece that's closest to the water. So we're,
You think we're within a month?
Of starting?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, yes, sir.
That's good. That's what I wanted to hear.
All right, any questions on any project that we got in the mail? All right, moving on.
Six,
Well,
first page.
I know, what I do is,
Yes, keep it there.
I got too many papers. All right, next is, Mr. McLean, are you present and ready to address the council?
I thought Mr. McLean was coming.
Okay?
Mayor, if you'd like, I can give you a little bit of an update. I did drive out there and look at things, and it's kind of, this is a photograph prior to the storm. And that photograph prior to the storm shows the house at this location. After the storm, the house is actually sitting completely on a separate lot. It is no longer on this parcel. In the process of FEMA and tearing down homes, Mr. McLean went after FEMA funds to tear that down. It wasn't determined until later in the process that he had the house for rent, so he was not qualified to have the funds to tear it down. So he did look to try to get the house torn down, even though it was on a separate parcel. And in asking Nick where we are between a rock and a hard spot, it's kind of hard to force the person that has the house on the lot to tear down something that he would not have insurance on and is not particularly his. So one of the things that I will ask in tomorrow's meeting is, we've got a wicked problem. The house does not belong to the person whose lot it's on. If the city goes in and tears it down, there's nobody that we can lien, because we can't really lien the owner of the house because it's not his house, per se. So I'm gonna see if there's some.
Okay, so tomorrow, is Jeff on the phone tomorrow?
No, sir, I do not believe that Jeff is on the phone tomorrow.
If the land development code allows the city to pursue either the person responsible for the violation or the person who owns the land where the violation exists, and as far as if there was some sort of act of God kind of exception, that would swallow up almost everything that's happened. So the city has both options, but for the time being, it seemed more appropriate to pursue the gentleman who built and previously owned that house before.
Well, have we done that? Have we talked to the,
We have, and he's requested an appeal with the special master, which we cannot schedule right now.
And he was the one that requested to be on the agenda, so had he not requested.
okay, so, okay, Mr. McLean is the
Owner of the
owner
house.
of the now vacant property,
Correct.
where the house originally sat. That's who Mr. McLean is.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But without his presence, I don't know what he wanted to say.
If this was a hearing scheduled for determining a violation or something like that,
Right.
still waiting.
I got
until
you.
we have-
Okay, I understand. Wow. Was that Mr. McLean's residence, or was that a rental house?
That was
It was a
one,
rental house.
that was one correction I wanted
You said that
to
earlier.
make.
Okay.
It was his, not his primary residence. It wasn't determined it was a
Why
rental.
would he not be responsible for tearing it down, even though it's not on his lot?
We, We believe he is, and that's how we're pursuing it.
Okay,
But we can't force compliance or have the city
I'm
do
with
the
you.
work
Okay.
ourselves.
So we aren't
He's
thinking
already
that he's
requested.
not responsible?
We believe he's responsible.
Okay. All right, moving on. Any other project questions right before we leave that? All right, it's not on the agenda. All right, next, is ordinance, second reading of ordinance 749. This is, we're gonna have a public hearing. This is on the townhome district that we have been discussing, months, I think. But, we're gonna open the floor to public hearing on ordinance 749. Is there anyone here to speak?
Mayor, if we could Mario and I give you a brief update on what changed between first and second?
Absolutely, please do.
The table of the properties listed has fewer properties than it used to. And the explanation for that is, that you heard last meeting, there was some concern that maybe some of these properties were already tourist commercial. And we did a full analysis of that, and we got with the Department of Economic Opportunity at the state. They reviewed comprehensive plan amendments and maintain a lot of records. And it turns out that the townhomes on the north side of Miramar Drive, those are the ones that are canal front, about half of them are still there, about half of them are vacant right now. Those are supposed to be tourist commercial already, the state agreed, and we're just going to get with the county GIS folks and correct those. So that row of townhomes has been removed from this ordinance because they're tourist commercial now. So it eliminates the need to do this for those properties, and most people would prefer to be tourist commercial compared to any of these other categories anyways. So they're no longer in the ordinance. Otherwise, it's the same as last time we saw.
So that's considered, in your opinion, not a significant change and no reason not to have a second reading?
If we were adding parcels, it would be a significant change. Since we're eliminating a handful, no, I think it's fine. Continue the second reading.
All right, is there, again, last call for any comments concerning ordinance 749? All right, we're gonna close the public hearing. Let the record reflect there were no public input or comments. Chair will entertain discussion or a motion to accept or to read ordinance 749.
Make a motion to read ordinance 749 by title only.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any opposition to reading? Lindsay, would you please read?
An ordinance initiated by the City of Mexico Beach to rezone from residential high density to townhome district those certain parcels of land lying within the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, as listed and more particularly described in the body of this ordinance and located on Miramar Drive, South 42nd Street, South 41st Street, South 40th Street, South 39th Street, South 38th Street, South 37th Street, South 35th Street, South 32nd Street, South 29th Street, and US Highway 98 between South 23rd Street and North 22nd Street, consisting of approximately 9 non-contiguous acres, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict, and providing that this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon its passage.
Thank you. Again, is there a motion for adoption?
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 749.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy,
Yes.
Mr. Pollock,
Yes.
Ms. Call,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Key.
Yes.
Moving on, is the first reading of ordinance 755, and before we open for public hearing, Mario, if you would just give us just a brief overlay of 755.
This is where we changed the language to allow detached homes versus everything having to be attached and taking out the language for multifamily
In the townhome district.
in the town.
That's right. The location that we just rezoned properties to be under that townhome district zoning. This will modify the rules of what's allowed in that zoning district, primarily to ensure that folks that have enough space to want to build attached can do that.
All right, open the public hearing to accommodate those who may want to speak to ordinance 755. Floor is open. Any comments? All right, we're gonna close the public hearing, go to the table, and do I have a motion or discussion on to read ordinance 755?
Motion to read ordinance 755 by title only.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any opposition to read it? Please do so.
An ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending the Land Development Code to modify the Townhome District zoning category, principal uses, to allow single-family detached and eliminate multifamily residential, providing for codification, repealing ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict, providing for severability and an immediate effective date.
That will go then on our next meeting, Lindsay, for
Mhm.
second reading. All right, moving on, we have a resolution 20-35.
Mayor, this is adding a couple of 2-inch lines to the Oleander project. The project carries a $59,000 contingency, and the additional cost is $2,500. So this reduces the contingency by that amount. It does not increase the contract amount.
Do I have a motion to read resolution 20-35?
Make a motion to read resolution 20-35 by title only.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Please read.
A resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, approving change order number 1 to the city's agreement with North Florida Construction, Inc. on the Oleander Avenue potable water main project in the amount of $2,542 to be paid out of the $59,665.42 contingency funds.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 20-35.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Ms. Call?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
I have a comment about this, and how long have we known that it's been a couple of weeks, and we've been knowing this for a couple of weeks, right?
We've known that we had to add some lines because there were some homes that were added to the project after the project was let.
But the reason I raised the question, for $2,542, is there no way that we could have, they've been waiting on us, according to David, they've been waiting for us to approve this, to put those lines in. We have a contingency fund, and my purpose in raising this question is, we just sort of been waiting to meet again? Is that what we've been doing, to approve this?
The form coming in and approving.
Well,
yes.
is there, am I the only one, but I don't know, we need the work done, for $2,542, you can approve things up to $5,000.
If council wishes, I definitely push them through, yes, sir.
Well, am I wrong in?
No, you're right. You're right.
Why are we waiting? We got dirt roads, we got stuff torn up, we need to move on.
No worries. I'll push them through on the next.
Well, how does everybody feel about that? I don't want to be the only one, but I don't get the.
I agree with you. Something like that, we gotta keep this stuff going as fast as possible.
What about that, Nick? Is this a requirement that we do a resolution for that type of, if it's $40,000, I can understand, but if it's within his spending limit anyway.
The resolution is really just for good record keeping. When it's below the city administrator spending threshold, these could just be done administratively. We would want to avoid having it be done over and over on the same contract where it might gradually add up to a sizable amount.
Well, then he'd have to answer for that.
But for something that's a couple $1,000, it could be approved.
Without
council meeting.
Well, can we,
Could we approve it and then bring it after the fact for ratification?
Yeah, that would be the best thing to do, as an update and have it ratified. at the following
I just don't want, but when I talked to Dewberry about this, well, you know, at the meeting, then he started doing that, this was several days ago, not today. And I'm thinking, come on, all right, so,
No worries.
so everybody clear with that, everybody okay with that? All right, all right, moving on. Number 4. Resolution,
This is.
what is number 4?
It's just a project list.
Yeah. Okay, that's just the project list, I'm sorry, I'm with,
Mayor, as I mentioned earlier, CDBG DR is in the process. On November 30th is the due date to submit things to the state. We were asked to produce a list. I mentioned that list in the last meeting. We're refining that list. We've had meetings, and at this point, instead of going, and in the last meeting, I had mentioned that the dredge would be $2 million. After the fact, we discovered that it was better off for us to go for a higher amount for that, so we're going for $4 million for the dredge work, which is actually to do the entire portion of the canal that's left. So we'll be going after the full amount within FEMA, and we'll be going after the full amount within CDBG, and if one pays or the other pays, whichever's quickest to we'll go with it. We are able to utilize this not as a match, but we can do 40% of it with CDBG and 60% with FEMA. Can't be done as a match, but we can do separate pieces. The pier costs, we're going after $2 million, and this is to make the pier wider, taller, stronger, so upgrades to the pier that FEMA will not pay for. So we're going after $2 million for that. For police, fire, and civic, it's mainly to bring the infrastructure out to the new site between the box culvert or bridge that we have to build here on the ditch and or the half-mile road that has to come in off of Joe Road. The stormwater, again, we broke it into a piece of the master stormwater system, and this would be to build one of the master stormwater ponds. And then lastly, the beach renourishment, this would be to kick off beach renourishment. And this one is one where, we could do a partial renourishment like we're doing right now, or leverage this money with the Corps of Engineers money, which is a $25 million project to do the entire beach. But again, breaking the projects into the legal terminology that they're asking for so that we qualify for things. And this is part of the requirements for this process, is that we outline everything here. The next piece is a resolution that authorizes us to do this and gives public 14 days to make comments on what we're going after. And then in our second meeting in November, we'll adopt it, because we have to have this adopted in order for us to qualify to send this information to the state. So this is process.
question?
So with each of these items, all 5, any of these we have matching, or is this what BG is for, to pay for matching? So will we have matching on any of this?
CDBG does not require matching, but this tranche of money cannot be used to provide a match to other projects. It's one of the things that I mentioned in the last meeting.
Yeah.
Everything that I thought we were going after was a match. This tranche of money cannot go after match. There will be a future tranche of money that goes after match, and I'll bring you a list very similar to this that says we're going after the match for the pier, we're going after the match for this, and after that. This is a step by step by step, and I wish it was quicker and easier, but it's the process.
Because the pier, do we have an idea what the pier would cost? Is $2 million going to be enough to do the pier?
No, the pier is probably a $10 million project, but FEMA should be paying for a majority of that project. That's, again, this $2 million is to make the pier a little bit wider, a little bit taller, out of concrete instead of wood. It's upgrades to the pier, because I cannot use these funds to match for the pier.
But we're going to have something else we go out for and look for matching?
CDBG will have a tranche of money that says for match.
Okay.
And then when it says for match, we'll go after the money for the match.
So if they have a tranche of money for match, and we have already gotten down the road with design and everything, it will be too late if that, because we don't know if they're gonna give us matching funds, because we gotta get in the pot with everybody else, right?
Yes, sir.
And there's no way that we can know the prior to us committing,
Yes, sir.
so we need to be very careful when we commit to how much money in case we don't get any other money.
That is why this whole process is so much fun.
Yeah, that's,
Because, you know, you're talking about the pier. I'm,
know, I mean, it's
I'm looking at,
25.
I'm looking at the police and fire station. Ideally, we don't build back exactly what we had, because what we had was 10 or 15 years old and probably at its, you know, they were outgrowing that. These monies are so that we can hopefully build for the next 5 to 10 years. So if we need an extra 300 square feet, we can get the extra 300 square feet here and there and wherever. So in the ideal world, all these grants would go out and I would know at the same time that I can build a 3,000 square foot building, not a 2,000 square foot building, so that I can tell my architect to design not a 2,000 square foot building, but a 3,000 square foot building. But I can't tell him to design a 3,000 square foot buildings. Right now, all we're going after from FEMA is a 2,000 square foot building. There is a chicken and egg dilemma in the process. I wish it was more simple.
Sure make it complicated.
Not my rules, I just gotta try to swim through the rapids.
All right, point of information. I mean, that's what this is, as confusing as it is, it's the best we've got to share.
And one quick question before you move towards approval. I did assist with this a little bit while I was out of the country. At the time, I think there probably was less information available. Maureen said there has to be a subsequent approval about it's not referenced in the resolution, but there's going to be another approval by the council before this is the final list being submitted.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, next is resolution 20-36, which references what we just talked about. That's where those are. Do I have a motion to read resolution 20-36?
Motion to read resolution 20-36 by title only.
Second.
Have a motion second, please do so.
A resolution authorizing preparation and submittal of an application for funds from the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity for funding through Rebuild Florida Hurricane Michael General Infrastructure Program.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 20-36.
Second.
Have a motion second, call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Ms. Call?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 20-37. This deals with the wing wall, I think we got discussed a couple meetings ago.
Yes, sir, Mayor.
We are now going to repair property.
Yes, sir. This is the task order for Dewberry to produce drawings to make the repair. And this has been obligated by FEMA to be built. If there are any additional damages that occurred because of Sally, this would also allow us to go after a little bit of additional money through Sally. But these drawings should cover both.
Is there a motion to read by title only, 20-37?
Make a motion to read resolution 20-37 by title only.
Second.
A motion second, please read.
A resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, approving a task order with Dewberry Engineers for professional services for 15th Street Box Culvert Wing Wall Repair and the proposed amount of $29,800.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 20-37.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any comments or questions? Call the roll.
Mayor Kathy,
Yes.
Mr. Pollock,
Yes.
Ms. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Keith.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on, number 7, resolution 20-38.
Mayor, this is the appraisal for the 25 acres to the north of us for the donation that St. Joe will provide. This appraisal will be utilized to hopefully offset some of the monies that we have to provide for the building of the police fire station and civic center. And there were 2 prices that were received. One was 6,000 and change, and this was 3,000 and change.
All right. Motion to read resolution 20-38.
Motion to read resolution 20-38 by title only.
Second.
Motion and second, please read, Nancy.
A resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, approving a proposal from Giles Appraisal Group, Inc. for an appraisal of the municipal site donation in the amount of $3,500 and 4 weeks to delivery.
Do we have, motion to adopt? I'm sorry.
Motion to adopt resolution 20-38.
Second. Have a motion and second. Before we vote, is St. Joe Company transferred title to this property?
No, sir. This is part of the
This
staff of.
is one of the functions required.
Yes, sir.
The primary purpose for this appraisal is so that St. Joe can properly do its accounting, to have a value for the property. It will affect some of the closing costs, and it will affect what the match value is that the city's receiving on this.
Gotcha. That's what I'm talking. Please call the roll.
Mayor Kathy,
Yes.
Mr. Pollock,
Yes.
Ms. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Keith.
Yes.
Okay, what about ownership of the 3 acres? Does that happen? Over at the boat ramp?
That lease modification has not been executed at this point. I know that
It's ready for
it's
execution.
ready for execution, so
We reviewed it, it's fine.
Or where is it sitting?
I think it's in our hands. Probably all
Can we
have to
get
do
it
is
to
sign.
back to St. Joe?
Yep.
Sure will.
Yeah. And can we make that a report by you
Yes.
every 2 weeks at our meeting where we are? Resolution 20-39, do I have a motion to read? Well, first of all, can you just quickly tell us what we're doing? I can read it, but.
We're replacing fire hydrants that were damaged by the hurricane. There are places where fire hydrants are being abandoned and it's just a saddle. There's places where we're moving from one line to another. It's basically getting us back to where we were pre-storm.
Did we vote on the appraisal? I know that.
Yes.
We did, okay.
We did receive 4 bids, and this was the low bid. And this has been approved by FEMA, and this is a standard project, so since we had 4 bids, they'll do this bid. We will have a 12.5% match responsibility on this.
Did they ultimately require GPS readings on those fire hydrants? Do we have to do that?
Oh, I would doubt it, yes, sir.
You remember in the meeting?
I think, was that
Did
for
we do
this
that?
or for stormwater? There were manholes that they
No, that
required
was,
400
that
feet.
was for manhole cover.
Manhole, yeah.
But we still do GPS and we submit it. to
My
the-
bad. Okay, gotcha.
But I'm sure they still require it here.
All right, motion to read resolution 20-39.
Motion to read resolution 2039 by title only.
Have a motion second. Ms. Lindsay, please.
A resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, approving a proposal for fire hydrant repairs within the City of Mexico Beach with North Florida Construction, Inc. in the amount of $138,000, $125. That didn't make sense, let me try that again. Okay, a resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, approving a proposal for fire hydrant repairs within the City of Mexico Beach with North Florida Construction, Inc., in the amount of $138,125.
$25.
That's 2,500, 120.
125. That's
Okay.
what you said, right?
Yes,
138125.
I got it.
There you go. All right, there's a motion to adopt.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2039.
Have a motion second, call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Ms. Call?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
All right.
Did we have the right dollar amount?
Yep. We got it.
Okay.
All right, number 9, peer engineer bid selection. Mario, I think you
Mayor.
lead that discussion or lead that.
Yes, sir. The RFQs were submitted to the council members just before the prior meeting, and you've had it for, I don't know, a couple weeks now. I did print out a copy of the review process as a guide, if you choose to use that format. And what we're hopeful for is that each council member can tell us who they think is number 1, number 2, number 3. We'll go through, we'll tally that up, and then select who most people think is number 1. And probably the easiest way to do that is if you'll just take a piece of paper and put your number 1, your number 2, your number 3, your number 4, number 5, and get that back to me. I will tally that up.
Do you have a piece of paper showing which ones are there? I'll bring that. So,
Look at mine.
You went right over that moment, if you just put-
No, just, if you just give me the first name, I mean, you don't need to write the whole name out.
So the RFQ has a set scoring approach for this. Or you said we just want to do a blanket ranking?
It's for them to use as a tool. Have to,
And then the 2 peers and Panama City Beach.
did not.
This is your local.
Stand up better to scrutiny. That's our approach.
If y'all use your scoring sheets, please submit those scoring sheets.
I didn't use a score.
I didn't use it either, Mario. I did it the old fashioned way.
Okay.
I read it and brought my own opinion.
Pass that, Darryl.
I'll pass my cheat sheet along. 3 copies.
So I gotta redo mine?
Do it like quick.
You said all that.
Margaret's got some of these.
Should be checking on the volume.
I'm way more interested in what we tell them they can do for us, because I think all of them can do it.
Oh, yeah.
Good job, so.
They're all capable. For sure.
Okay, in the tally that I have, we have we have 4 votes for BDI for number 1. We have 3 votes for ISS for number 2, so we have a pretty clear cut for BDI. That's number 1, and then clear to number 2 is SSI.
All right,
Absolutely done.
the fact that that vote is in, and, the only one of the people that are here is Dave Hempel from BDI, and I see that he would probably like to address the council.
If I may, first of all, thank you. I appreciate
Dave
it.
Hempel.
Baskerville Don was previously hired by the city council in 2016-17 to do this work, and we're happy to continue it. I personally have worked on the 3 piers, Pensacola, Panama City Beach, and Bay County piers. We learned from each one. We've made improvements on each one, and we want to offer that to you too. There are little secrets in doing piers. When Pensacola Beach got hit by Hurricane Ivan, it was a Category 4 storm. We had $45,000 damage to that pier. It withstood the storm. The blowout panels worked. Everything came together. We lost some handrail. So each year goes by, each pier goes by. We want to do better, and we'd be happy to work with Mexico Beach. I appreciate the vote.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here.
I do.
Got up this morning early. We've lost our bridge in Pensacola. I had a 25-mile detour.
Y'all didn't design that one.
No, sir. Nor the storm that took it out.
All right, so just, we now have a choice, does it take, is what we've done the official action? Or do we need?
That releases us to talk about a price.
Right. But I mean, do we need more than?
I'm gonna ask that you have a motion to approve the ranking.
I
The way
do.
this works is, if the contract negotiation and pricing doesn't go well with BDI, then the staff would move on to ISS.
Move on to, okay.
So it looks like BDI number 1, ISS number 2.
And then Mott McDonald would be number 3.
Yeah, so that would be your.
So you want a motion to recognize the order? Is that what you want?
Yes.
I make a motion, we recognize the order for the pier design.
Second.
Would you read the order just so that it'll be in the record?
The order is BDI is number 1, ISS is number 2, and M&M is number 3.
Okay.
You got it? You got it? Okay.
Mhm.
Is there a second?
Second.
So, I'm sorry, we have a motion second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollard?
Yes.
Ms. Call?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Keith?
Yes.
Okay. Number 10, Special Master Volunteer, Mr. Jim Bush. Mr. Bush has submitted a letter to the city in your packet that recognizes that he is interested in filling that position. Also recognizing that he is on planning and zoning and realizes that he would resign from that to avoid the conflict of interest. Mr. Bush is here. I think for the most part, the letter speaks for itself, but if you have any comments, you're welcome to the floor.
I would like to point out that I'm no longer a member of the Florida Bar. I've reviewed several codes from other municipalities in Florida, and every one of them requires special master to be a member of the bar.
Yeah, the city of Mexico Beach doesn't have that requirement, in part probably because we don't pay our special master. But Mr. Bush does have a nice background in legal matters, so he's not someone who's just completely inexperienced with the law.
All right, special master, we are, and this is certainly no revelation in terms of making this comment, but the special master for this city, given the conditions that our community is in and the things that we're gonna have to have, we need, I'm glad that we have someone that is locally here interested in doing it. Speaking candidly to you, sir, you have a demeanor that I think that you would serve well in that job. So, chair's open, the chair will recognize either discussion, a motion, or questions for Mr. Bush.
I think Mr. Bush's qualifications for this job is pretty good. So, I'd like to make a motion we accept Mr. Jim Bush, special master.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Ms. Call?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
No.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Mr. Bush,
Yes, sir.
thank you, sir. You are now the special master of the city of Mexico Beach, and you will be getting a considerable amount of information passed to you.
Kathy, you and you best friend.
I do have a question because for some reason, Mr. Attorney, I find it difficult for me to fully understand. Do we now have the process in place to move forward in our code violation? Is it our action today,
We do, and in individual cases, many have been started, it's just technically they can't be completed without a special master.
Okay. Is there, I know that Mr. Bush is very capable of reading the LDR and how the special master, the functions of that, but is there any, I don't know if training is the right word, but is there any, does code pass information to him? I mean, I know there's a process where people get notified. Who's in charge of making sure that the special master knows? And the reason I ask this, I've been to several special master hearings, and didn't nobody show up. They said, well, we didn't, and you know what I'm talking about.
I do. Most of the notifications are done by the city staff, but the code does provide some of the hearing notifications through the special master. It's fine if the city staff assists with that. We'll go through that whole process. It's about a 10-page section of land development code, so it's pretty detailed. And that will be something that everyone will be looking at closely.
Good. Because that needs to happen, so that we don't get, if we're gonna tell all these folks you're in violation, let's please have the process well understood by everybody involved. Okay. City Attorney report, what you got?
I do have two items today. The first is a update on the preliminary plat approval that the city council did about 6 weeks ago for the cottages of Paradise Cove, the subdivision that Mr. Malherbe was presenting. At the time, we heard from his attorneys that they intended to file suit if it wasn't a regular clean approval, and last week they did. So they're disputing the condition that the council placed on the approval to reduce. There was a row of lots of 9 lots along the main street reducing that to 6. They challenged that, and they have asserted that they're going to pursue damages, but not any specific at this point. So we're waiting on an insurance determination to see whether we'll have coverage for our legal defense from insurance, and if there's not coverage for through insurance, I've got one of the attorneys in my office on standby ready to defend the case. The second item I have, it goes back to the prior conversation we had about the townhome district. I mentioned that we went to the state of Florida and confirmed that several lots on Miramar Drive were actually towards commercial. We also talked to them about some lots in other locations, and the results were a little different on those. So the background of this is, in 2007, the city council did a comprehensive plan amendment and submitted a new map to the state of Florida, and that map, as best as we can tell, had some mistakes on it. It was supposed to change one parcel to general commercial, and instead that map appeared to have shown several parcels that had always been towards commercial changed to, at the time it was towards residential. It's the equivalent of our high density residential. So we had a detailed conversation with the state and talked through the other locations where this appeared to have occurred. And unlike the Miramar Drive location, the state has too many documents on record, too many maps filed, showing that those parcels have been towards residential for years and years. So rather than just informally changing those and correcting the prior error on those, if we want to get them back to their original towards commercial category, we'll be going through a comprehensive plan adoption, amendment adoption to fix that error. In the meantime, those parcels were all changed to townhome districts, so that's going to accommodate what almost everybody there would want to do, is get started on construction of a narrow townhome. But to actually get back to the tourist commercial, it's going to take a bit of process, and I think we tend to pursue that. You'll be seeing documents on that over the next month or two, but in the meantime, they are all set for a townhome construction project.
Okay. I think it's appropriate then, we now have been, just notified, put on notice that there is a intent to file suit against the city for our decision that we made on the, Maribel property.
And the suit was filed, it was filed last week.
So, okay, so the suit is the council, are we steadfast that our decision in asking if he's gonna use our public road for access to those line lots, are we still comfortable that that's the direction we wanna go?
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay. Everybody, does anybody wanna do anything different?
It's showing respect to people's already there.
You understand? I'm just, from our attorney standpoint, are you comfortable that what our decision, it has merit?
I am. The land development code has language that is very consistent with the decision you made in terms of consistency with nearby properties.
Well, I raise that question only because you said we're trying to make sure we may be covered by the insurance, which means if we are not covered, then we have an out-of-pocket expense.
Correct.
The last thing in the world that I thought we would need, but I'm also steadfast that what we're doing is the right thing to do. So, based on that, we'll move forward. Okay. All right. Mario, you're up.
Mayor, I gave you a pretty extensive list last meeting. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer, but I think we're good.
Oh, I like it. I do too. All right, Sharon, you got anything?
I'm good, Al.
You good? Bobby?